All right, so I really like this comment, and I'm going to explain why, okay? This user says, Bash is cool and all, but damn, too many edge cases like that. Wrapping commands in Python scripts is so much easier. So here's the thing. This comment's on videos where I'm like showing some of the edge cases with Bash. So this person's not just like, bashing me for no reason. Like it makes sense. The thing is that Bash does have some edge cases, and I like to make these videos where I show the gotchas, but so does Python. So many other languages have their own sets of edge cases and gotchas and things like that. The thing is, you probably stick to the one that you know. Like you are personally probably more comfortable with Python. So if you were to encounter a weird edge case that would trip me up, you'd be like, oh, that just works because of X, Y, and Z. That's how I am with Bash. When someone's like, oh, this behavior is so confusing, I'm like, no, it's not, because I've taken the time to learn it. That's not a value judgment on someone who has it. I'm just saying it's in my wheelhouse. That's why I'm comfortable with it. Whereas if I were in the Python world, I'd probably make some beginner mistakes that you wouldn't make because you're comfortable with it. Like, yeah, Bash has some really weird things, especially with arithmetic expressions returning a different value based on the answer or based on the number, the final result. It makes sense if you think about how C if statement works. But again, yeah, it can be weird behavior. But let's talk about Python. Let's talk about comparing things where I can use equal, or I can use is. Now you have to start understanding pointers and things like that. That's a really basic example. Again, I'm not a Python expert, but what about when you set default arguments? When are those interpreted? Like if I set a default argument to a list and then I start appending to it, I can get into some pretty weird situations with Python like that, where I've gotten in that situation. I'm like, oh, this is a weird edge case that I'm not used to. Or, okay, here's my favorite thing in Python. Not even talking about how it's white space indented, but like else. You guys love to use, I'm saying you guys like I'm putting this on you. I don't mean to do that, but like Python loves to use the else keyword, and it does not have to be connected to an if keyword. That blows my mind. I know other languages do this. Rust recently stabilized let else, but in Python, I can just have like an else underneath like a for loop, which is super weird. It does not have to be connected to an if statement, which is like mind blowing to me. So in my mind, I would look at that and be like, oh, is that like a syntax error? And Python's like, no, that runs just fine. So yeah, my point is like, when I read this, I can just substitute what you say for a more generic version. X is cool and all, but too many edge cases like that, wrapping commands or doing something in Y is so much easier. Yeah, it's going to be easier when you know how Y works and you don't know how X does. Because I can just do the opposite. I can say Python's cool and all, but there are a lot of edge cases. I find it easier to wrap my commands in Bash. Like, I could just as easily say that. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that. But I agree. Yeah, there are a lot of weird edge cases, but every language has weird edge cases. Like I love, oh my God, I'm not even going to mention JavaScript, okay? But yeah, no, great comment.